All right, everyone. My name is Pascal Borel, and I'm speaking to you from the Swiss mountains. This is the third episode, really, of what I've called the saga of Sagarmatha. Sagarmatha being my home and meaning Mount Everest in Nepalese, goddess of mountains and of the world. And I thought it was a well-suited name for one of the nicest home chalet, in inverted comma, in Verbier, with the largest welcoming capacity. And I refer to my previous videos if you want to know the beginning of the story. By the way, you better watch them very quickly, because it didn't take more than 24 hours of my first French videos to be on the web, on YouTube, to be censored using the legal framework to stop you having access to a genealogy of facts, undisputable facts. And my advice is, of course, you download the video, and if you want to use all or part of it into your channels and to, understand the story, be my guest. By the way, I'm also saying that all the people I mention here have a free access to my YouTube and other channels on different platforms in order to respond to me, rather than using the legal framework to stop you having access to the information. And the only thing I require is that there are no insult, no contempt, no violence into the videos. But I'm more than happy to welcome anyone that's got to say something about my story, our story nowadays, because I'm laying flat before you all the thing, which is very much unlike me, if I may say, because we have a say in French that to live happy, live hidden. And if you had told me that I had to put all my life on the table before you, like even 6 months ago, I wouldn't have believed you. But anyway, back to the story. So for the bank, it's a bit of a hot potato, because they do realize that they've infringed the law, a federal law, by creating a hidden sale situation where I had to leave. I had to leave my home, put it at the disposal of the royals. They've made transformations and renovations at my own cost. I paid for it. I lended them 1.8 million plus the rental fees, summing up an amount which is in excess of 2 million Swiss francs, $2 million equivalent, euros, whatever. All currencies are kind of at parity nowadays. And I'm there going from a 3.8 million mortgage to a 20 million mortgage, of which probably about 8 has been, more than that actually, about 10 has been spent between my investment into the York holdings, between the renovation of the chalet, and for a truck, I have to admit, which is the only thing that was part of my project of life. And this truck is a big RV, 8x8, 8-wheel drives, 8 steering axles, because I wanted to change my project of life from what I had before to a, creating a bit of capital through the sale of the chalet to no less than the royal family of England, which is quite flattering, meaning that I haven't created and built a shithole, basically. No, because they wouldn't buy that. They wouldn't be interested by something like that. And I was creating a little bit of capital in order to organize the homeschooling with my kids, visit the world, so I could read a bit more than just one page of the book, considering the world a large book. So the bank knew they were in complete illegality. And to protect themselves, they decided to raise interest rates. And the first raise was going from 0.75 to 1.3, which was still making it quite a healthy situation, because I was then renting the chalet, and it was covering all the interest rates, because it's a chalet that can be rented for quite a large amount, as you may imagine. And I could pay the interest rates and yet make a small profit. So it was again quite a healthy situation. But when we reached the fifth year, the fifth year of the contract being signed and in motion, they decided that according to the contract, I had to reimburse part of the capital. And then as the Yorks had, Prince Andrew and the Duchess of York, Sarah, hadn't been able to buy, of course, they didn't transfer or they didn't took the mortgage in their name as planned at the beginning. And I suggested that the bank would use the 6 million that they had in guarantee, on which I was paying interest, but that I couldn't invest on the stock market to make it work, basically. Even not in big blue chips that wouldn't have a chance to actually lose like 80% overnight. They took the interest on the 6 million, but I couldn't do anything. So I suggested that we reduce the mortgage contract by this amount in order to also diminish the interest rates, which we did. But at the same time, they went from 1.3, I started at 0.75 interest rate, 1.3, and then they raised it, literally, to 4.3, like overnight. And they knew that that was going to unbalance the financial situation completely. And I remind you that we were in negative territory when it comes to interest rates. So they were making a huge spread to improve their bottom line, profit, the profits, basically, they were, the profit and loss, bottom line of the bank. I'm losing my words, literally, because it sounds so incredible. And they did it. It's a management decision. And that's the first step of the strategy which they had to steal all my assets and use it, again, for their remorseless search for money and profit. And by the way, my wife, who's a banker, was totally destabilized by the whole scheme. She could not understand why she had been betrayed this way. And that's at the end of the story. You'll see it in the 4th episode. But following all of this, the pressure was so great that I've lost my son. I've lost my daughter. I've lost my wife. I mean, the damage from a human point of view cannot be greater. But we'll come back to it a bit later. So, Piguet Galland, the subsidiary of BCV, knew exactly. It's a management decision. It's a strategy to take all my assets and not even propose any solution, activate the joint caution that they had with the royals that had been signed in Switzerland, in Valais. I remember Prince Andrew coming with his private jet, because it's a document that has the strength of a federal court judgment, the highest court entity or justice entity, law entity in Switzerland. And it cannot be signed in Windsor or even in Geneva. It has to be signed in the canton of Switzerland where it applies. So he came, we signed it and so forth. But the bank, of course, wouldn't use it because it's so much easier to hit an honest citizen and taking advantage of the wealth I had created and invested into my home, where my kids were born, where they lived the best of the first 10 years of their lives. But they don't care about human factors. They just are, as a corporate culture, embedded in a remorseless search for money and profit. Anyway, so they shift the interest rates at 4.3. And at that stage, I said, we've reduced the mortgage loan, but I'm not going to pay 4.3% interest, making them a spread, because we were at minus 0.7, minus 0.75 probably, in terms of real effective interest rates on the market. And I said, no, I'm not giving you a 5% spread. margin on a contract that you have essentially signed to gather members of the royal family of England as clients. You messed up with the business gatherer contract, not my fault. Your legal and compliance department, took more than a year to actually produce the contract that was part of the deal. Not my fault. And again, it's a strategy to steal the assets of an honest citizen, to destroy his family. And the funniest thing is that the motto of the bank, it's commercial, marketing documents saying something like, we will go along with you in your project of life and bring you serenity. Man, do I look serene? I've lost everything, my assets, my family. Yes, I'm serene. Thank you very much. But I've learned to accept it. I've learned to live with it. And voila, this is how the legal framework of Switzerland can be used to create money, to defend the people that have, as a corporate culture, money, money, and money. Have they suggested anything? Did they come back to me with a solution, trying to improve whatever? When I've placed a cease on the chalet Hellora that was sold recently, you may have seen it in the press, for, it was worth probably about 12 million, because it's an old chalet, needs lots of renovation and what have you. And it apparently was sold for 19, 21, 22, all the newspapers, the, fake news, legacy media, as I kind of like to call them, traditional medias, have actually mentioned all kind of different names. I don't know which it is. And I'd say that not only it's a corporate culture, but they've probably run such an exercise many times in the past, because they hide through their advisors, namely Borel Barbet study in Geneva, behind the code of procedure, behind the legal framework. And they don't realize that if they corner me the way I've been cornered, of course, my only choice today is put all the facts, a genealogy of facts on the table, undisputable facts, so that you can make your own judgment of what's going on around here. It's a managerial decision taken by the top executive and the top non-executive director of the company. I'll see you in the next episode. I'll tell you about the refusal of the bank to enter into any dialogue. Thank you for your kind attention. May peace be with you. Peace out.